Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and welcome. It's Nurse Richard, the Wax Wizard. Thank you for joining me. This was a horrible case to do. It was, excuse me, it was really difficult, and the reason is it was all his own fault. As it is with a lot of patients we see, it's self-inflicted. It's not necessarily a medical problem. This chap was a persistent cotton bud user, and when I say persistent, I mean every day since childhood, or certainly since early adulthood. And I think it was a similar age to me from what I remember, which is years old. Oh, tell a lie, I'm 49. I will be 50 in June this year. I'm not going to tell you my birthday just in case anyone tries to steal my identity. You never know. A lot of weirdos out there on the internet. Not you kind of weirdos, different kind of weirdo. So yeah, business address is in the bio. If someone wants to send me a card in June, feel free. But the reason why it's so difficult is because what he's done, like I said, almost every day of his life he's pushed a cotton bud in his ear, and it's not what they for. And what's happened is obviously it's compacted everything together. But the bigger problem here is all the loose hairs that have been entangled in it. Now they could be from haircuts or loose hairs that have fallen off the outer ear, or from shaving, and they've ended up on the outer ear. And every time he's put a cotton bud in, it's pushed all these hairs into it, which makes it into this horrible mess that you can see in front of you. And it's horrible, and it's really difficult to remove for a few reasons. It's all matted together. It keeps blocking up the tube. I do put some oil in shortly. I quickly realised I wasn't going to get anywhere doing it without any oil. It's certainly no good for tools, this, because it's all squidgy and squashy. It would just smear it all over the place, any tools that you use. So here you go, put oil in, which then causes me the problem of blurring and the old dream sequence again. But the reason why it's so difficult is when you see one like this that's just been smeared everywhere, you have no idea where everything is. You actually have no idea. They're educated guesses. Don't have x-ray eyes. The endoscope can't see through this to know where you are. So you genuinely have no idea where everything is in the ear, what the proportions are, how wide, how near is the eardrum. Obviously through years of doing it, there's a normal margin of where things would be and how long, how wide, how tall things would be. But when it's like this, just pushed in there and smeared all over the place, you can't see. You can just about see the canal wall now, can't you? But as for any of the other canal wall, how far down's the vent, how far down's the eardrum, no idea. It's literally an educated stab in the dark, to be honest with you. But it's probably one of my least favourite things to do when someone's done this. And as tempting as it might be to get the irrigator out, you kind of, especially with someone like this, you don't quite know what damage they've done, if any. But because someone who's, and it didn't describe as having any pain in it from what I recall, but you can never be sure what damage someone has done. And obviously when you irrigate these things with water, which I do, it's rare. Not many patients I do it. When it's a big sloppy slurry, then I find it's actually the safer way of doing it. But when you do it in one like this, you don't know have they damaged the eardrum, have they grazed it. You just can't see anything. But with a persistent poker, for want of a better word, you just don't know what they've done until you actually get in there. So to just blindly flush water in there would probably be the wrong thing to do. But I do use it. I get asked quite a bit. But it is rare, only a couple of times a week. And like I said, it's really useful for ones that have been over softened, usually with drops like hydrogen peroxide, where it just turns it into this mush and you just cannot see for the life of you where and what's going on. And hoovering up like slurry, it's almost liquidy, a lot of it. It's really difficult, and I just find it safer. You could be there all day doing it, and I personally find it safer sometimes just to give it a rinse. Sometimes it takes like 2-3 seconds and it's done. And the ear naturally, put my teeth back in, the ear naturally recovers anyway, usually when it's had some water in. Infection risk is there because you've rinsed out some of the natural oils in there, but it's a slim risk, albeit still a slight risk. So yeah, first line of defence is always suction, but it's good to have another weapon in the arsenal just in case you need it. You know, before any medical procedure, you'd weigh up the pros and cons of doing something. What are the risks of doing this? What are the risks of doing that? And then make an informed decision based on what you know. And as you can see, this is getting blurry. So it's one of, you know, oil's essential sometimes to get ones like this out, but it does come with its issues. I mean, there's already oil which you can see all over the suction tube there, so that's blurring. It gets it on the hairs on the outer part of the ear. It's really difficult to put an endoscope in someone's ear without it bumping into some of those hairs. You know, often, you know, I do edit these procedures. Very rarely though, but there's a few instances where can you see that because of the pool of oil at the bottom, it actually looks like the wax is moving when I'm not even touching it. It is moving now because I'm touching it, but what I'm saying is very often during the procedure, as soon as you put the endoscope in, before you introduce the suction tube, you'll put the endoscope in, you'll catch a bit of oil in it, so you've got to take it out, clean it off, and then put it back in again. So I do edit them for those reasons, so you don't have to see me doing all that. Nobody needs to see that. Just going in, getting blurry, then cutting away and starting again. I don't spend long editing these anyway. You just literally press record before you go in there, and when you come out, press stop, and that's it. So there's sometimes a bit of editing if it catches the patient's face on the way out. Got to cut it before that happens. I mean, there's a few who wanted it left in, but I didn't want to do that. No patient will ever, unless they want to be, will ever be identifiable in any of these videos. And they do all sign that before they come. You know, I do explain to them, and it's on forms. They get sent a form before they come. Are you happy for these to be used? On websites and social media, and not one person has ever said no. So, you know, as long as my name's not in it and my face isn't in it, then that's fine. So as you can see, we can actually see whereabouts we are now. We've got some perspective. You still couldn't hear much at this point, but you can still see, a little glimpse of the eardrum now, can't you? Just on the right hand side there, but you've just got this ball of mush. You know, he has thrown a load of oil in there. I suspect it was one of the more aggressive water-based ones. He wasn't sure which one it was, and it would have probably been like a hard haystack before he did that, and now it's just turned into a soggy haystack. So I'm just going to peel that away from the roof of the ear canal, and you can see what we're left with there, can't you? It's almost a perfect mould just on and in front of the eardrum of this plug. And again, it is the horrible type of consistency that you can get a grip of it fairly decently, but a few bits disappear up the tube, and then you've got to readjust, get your grip. But it's just mushy. You know, if these things are solid and hard, it's quite easy to get a grip and pull them out. But as you can see, finally managed to get a decent grip of that. But as it's coming out, the ear canal's not straight. I wish they all were. That would be it made my job very easy if they were all straight, but they're not. So what tends to happen is when you pull it forward, you've got to then navigate it around the bends that you get just before you come out of the ear. And again, this is where it gets really bright and glary, because I had to turn the light up quite bright because we were in the ear and quite deep down. And obviously you can get a few blurs from all the oil that's on the hairs that we've just move the camera past, but that is the majority of this went up the tube, as you can probably figure out. And there's his eardrum, not looking the happiest ear canal you've ever seen in the world, but it is now an empty ear canal, which it certainly was not before he came to me. Needless to say, he had a right good telling off. He won't do it again. But thanks for watching for now, and I'll see you soon. Ta-da.